They called him Alexander the Great, the man who conquered the known world before he turned 30. But behind the legend lies a story history rarely tells. A tale of ambition, betrayal, and the price of greatness. History remembers the conqueror, but forgets the man. You've heard the legend. Now, uncover the truth here on ChronoQuest, where time becomes adventure. Born in 356 BCE in Pella, Macedonia, Alexander was raised in the shadow of greatness. His father, King Philip II, was a brilliant military commander and a shrewd diplomat who had united the fractured city-states of Greece under his rule. Philip built a formidable kingdom, but young Alexander sought something far greater: immortality. He was tutored by one of history's greatest minds, Aristotle. From him, Alexander learned philosophy, ethics, science, and political theory. Yet the most important lesson he learned was not one of strategy or statecraft, but how to dream on a scale no one had ever dared. He watched his father's victories, absorbing the art of war, all while envisioning a destiny that stretched beyond the borders of Greece, beyond the known world itself. When his father Philip was assassinated, Alexander inherited the throne at just 20 years old. The world doubted him. The Greek city-states he inherited saw an opportunity to rebel, thinking the young king weak. To the east, the mighty Persian Empire, under King Darius III, prepared for what they assumed would be an easy war. But Alexander defied all expectations. He didn't hesitate. With lightning speed and brutal precision, he first crushed the rebellions in Greece, securing his home front. Then, he crossed the Hellespont into Asia, confronting the largest empire the world had ever seen. He crushed Darius at the Battle of Issus and again at Gaugamela, sending the Persian king fleeing for his life. His army, a force of unparalleled discipline and loyalty, marched farther than any European army had ever gone before. From the shores of the Mediterranean to the pyramids of Egypt, where he was hailed as a pharaoh, all the way to the mountains of Afghanistan and the rivers of India, his name became a whisper, then a roar, then a legend. But greatness has a cost. As Alexander's empire grew, stretching across 3 continents, so did his isolation. The pressures of ruling such a vast and diverse territory began to change him. He started to adopt foreign customs, which alienated his Macedonian veterans. He began to see himself not merely as a mortal king, but as divine, the son of Zeus Ammon. This shift in his persona created a chasm between him and his closest companions. Friends who had fought beside him since childhood became perceived as enemies. Loyal generals who questioned his divine ambitions were seen as traitors. Somewhere on the long, grueling march between the opulence of Babylon and the mysterious banks of the Indus River, the conqueror began to lose himself. The boy who had dreamed of glory was now a man haunted by the weight of an empire, his spirit worn down by endless war and paranoia. In 323 BCE, at the age of just 32, Alexander fell gravely ill in the ancient city of Babylon. He had returned from his Indian campaign, planning new expeditions to Arabia and beyond, but his body finally gave out. To this day, the cause of his death remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Some ancient sources claim it was poison, a final act of betrayal by those who feared his growing tyranny. Others suggest it was a sudden disease, like malaria or typhoid fever, that finally felled the seemingly invincible warrior. But perhaps it was something more profound. Perhaps it was destiny, the gods themselves reclaiming the man who had dared to become one of them. His mortal body unable to contain his immortal ambition any longer. His vast empire, forged by the sword and held together by his sheer force of will, crumbled almost immediately after his death. His generals, the Diadochi, tore it apart, fighting amongst themselves for a piece of the legacy. The unity he had created shattered into warring kingdoms. And yet, his legend that never died, the cities he founded, many named Alexandria, became centers of learning and culture. The Greek language and ideas he spread initiated the Hellenistic age, a fusion of East and West that shaped civilization for centuries. Alexander's greatest conquest, in the end, was not of lands or of people, but of memory itself. Even now, over 2,000 years later, his story inspires, fascinates, and confounds us. We still whisper his name with a sense of awe. Alexander the Great. Thanks for joining us on this journey through time. If you want to uncover more of history's greatest untold stories, make sure to subscribe to ChronoQuest. We'll see you on the next adventure.